Hi, everybody. This is the supplemental lab session, and just wanted to talk about where we are with things. This week we finished the Salon case, and we also completed Lake West, and Lake West was not due till the 26th, but we went ahead and got it finished. So we've done two spreadsheet cases, and I think it's apropos for us now to move on into looking at Microsoft Access database and working with databases. And I am going to do so because I find that students have a lot of experience. Most of them do have a lot or a significant or a substantial amount of experience working with Microsoft Excel. But maybe not as much working with databases, and there can be kind of an intimidation factor. So what I'm going to do is to get us started, and this supplemental is to get us started in terms of working on the Access cases. Now I'm going to scroll up here for a moment, go up a little bit, and I'm going to go to this area called the syllabus. And really what it is, it's a summary of the course. It'll have all the due dates, and of course you see we uploaded the tutorial on the 15th. That was due, and then on the 19th we had some case quizzes. On the 26th I have another case follow-up and a couple of quizzes. On the 29th, Lake West University, that case 11, Lake West University, which we finished, and should have uploaded it already. So what was due the 29th was done. And then on the week of the 3rd, any materials from the spreadsheet tutorial or other material covered, upload here. Conclude Lake West, or other material covered, upload here, and start on MS and DBS concepts, upload here. Well, as you can see, on June the 6th, we have 3 uploaded. These are not quizzes or follow-ups. These are uploaded files. So, and then you have the Manelli, that's on the 10th. So we have 3 of them that will be the 3 opportunities there to do some work. So I'm going to get us started today, okay, looking at a case. But before we do, I just want to go back through some of some resources we have and talk about them. So I'm going to go back into the home, and I'm going to go down to the 19th. And then down to the 26th, okay, I have 2 modules, the 26th of June and the 3rd of June. And I have some information here. I'll talk about those, like infographics in that business. And you know, and not that big of a deal. And what we'll do is we're going to take a look at developing our skills with building a database. And I'm not going to turn you into database designer or anything, but I would really encourage you, okay, to take a look at these resources. I'll talk about them some, okay. And we'll begin then to do some work on the uploads. As you remember, on the 6th, I believe you have 3 files to upload, and those will be a database case. Now, I have a we're going to talk about start an MS Access in DB MS Concepts case 20. And if you go into your workbook, you'll find case 20 is the very first database case. It deals with a place called Elusive Moose RV Park. Okay, and you'll have a chance. We'll go through that now. Then also there's a I have a example database set up for you, and I have the case 19, the movie case. So we're gonna work primarily on case 19 and case 20. Okay, but before we do that, all right, you'll see I have case 20. What I pretend to do is to work back, do 20 first and then do 19. They just seem to fit together better that way. But before we do that, I just want to talk about some database access, very basic concepts. And so we'll scroll back up here to the file. Okay, we go into the files area. And you're going to find, I will scroll down here. I'm looking for a data warehouse. You're going to find a file called data warehouse, and I want you to download it. It's an access file. Now look, if you don't have access on your machine at home, if you are using a Mac, this won't work. So you're going to need to get access to have a machine that has access on it, or go to a place that has it. Of course, the lab in Oklahoma City at BGCO has it, but we're going to be working in access. So I usually get this business where folks have an Apple. I understand that. We're working on access because it's the best example of a database that I know. So we're going to click Enable Content. And we're going to click File. We're going to save it as an Access database. And then we'll find where we're going to put it, and that would be on our desktop. And it's going to be Data Warehouse. Then we'll click Enable Editing. And we'll be ready to go. Now I'm going to close that off and just make sure that I have it on my desktop. And I do. There, and of course you can see Cardinal Buddy right in the middle of the Grand Tetons. Isn't that's inspiring, isn't it? So I'm opening up my database, and I'm going to do just kind of a rough, dirty, kind of a quick, fairly quick overview of the concept of a data warehouse. Now, in the course, you've heard me talk about the analytical cube. There's a JPEG loaded in the files. I've got over there. You can look at to see how we can take different dimensions, time, a type of product, the location where a product was sold, etc. And we can slice and dice those data so we get a more complete picture. And we've talked, and we've gone in and worked with Excel with pivot, where we saw we could take pivot tables and we could take variables and put them in the y-axis or in the l-axis and see how they look. And now we're at the stage we're going to look at databases. Now, let me say this: a database is primarily designed to do two things: store, okay, and retrieve information. The heart of every database is a table. That's where everything is stored. When we talk about a data warehouse, literally imagine that you have all of these databases that are all in one place, okay? And you can get data from each of those databases, and that's really what a data warehouse is all about. Now, the heart of all of this, of course, is the database itself. The most important thing for you to understand is this is like anything: garbage in, garbage out. The table is the heart of everything, and if it's not handled well, you'll get just junk. Okay. All databases have the following, what we call objects. They have a table, that's where we store data. They have a query engine, that is a way to go into the tables and retrieve data that we're after. Okay. They have a report function. Okay. That is, you see the results of your work, and they will have a form. A form is a way to put data into a database. When we have tables, okay, we in a data warehouse, and thus a database which fits a data warehouse environment, okay, we have two basic types of tables. And if you look to the left, you're going to see the tables, and you're going to see three different types of tables. One of them starts with DIM, D-I-M. One of them here is just called fact sales. Then here's something called prod categories. And so we have three types of tables. Dimension tables, those are tables that deal with some attribute or variable or characteristic. Then we have what we call fact tables, and the only thing I would say is a fact table, F-A-C-T-T-A, a fact, and this is a sales fact. It's literally nothing but a list of records, okay? And it's no different than a general journal. It's just a list of all of the sales records, and this is a database, okay, for a sales organization. Then we have a thing called production, okay, and prod categories. And production tables are tables that deal with transactions, typically something about a transaction that occurs. And so what we do is we build the fact sales table, okay, from the dimension tables and the production tables, okay? So figure that a fact table is like you go into a warehouse and you do what we call order picking. And you might go into the warehouse and you get a few items from this pallet and a few items from that pallet, or it's probably, for today, it's probably a robot. And they get, a few items from this pallet or that shelf, and they put everything together for an order. Well, that's all got to happen within the construct of dimensions, that is variables, and production, and that is transactional kinds of elements. Now these terms are often not used really precisely, so you can you can end up with a database that gives you a lot of gobbledygook if you're not careful and you don't follow a process called normalization. Normalization is a very simple concept. A table should be like a paragraph. It should express one thing. Okay? A record, okay, which is inside of a table, is a collection of fields, okay? And those fields, like last name, Harmon, first name, Keith, work address, 500 West University, city, organization, Oklahoma Baptist University, city, Shawnee, state, Oklahoma, zip code, 73408. I forgot what the zip code is of the school. Got 73404, I think. I can't remember. But those collections of fields, okay, make up a record, okay? And so we build from that. Now, if you scroll down further, you're going to see queries, okay? And you'll see a couple of these are what we call append queries. 95% of all queries that are run are what we call a select query. Just give me some data. I might sort it or filter it, okay? I might want to limit it in terms of a certain amount. There's some logical condition I might apply to them. Typically there is. Tell me everybody who bought tennis shoes from us on Friday the 19th of May, and give me a description of what was purchased. That's a query. Pretty typical. And so we have these queries. These are really questions, okay? And you'll see that we tend to name them. And we can even run queries to create tables. So we can do a lot with a query. We can take data from one table, dump it into another. We can append data. We can update a table. Queries let us manipulate the tables. Now, if you are around or have worked with someone who's experienced, they're old school folks kind of like I am, and they've worked with the database, you're going to hear them refer to a view, V-I-E-W, okay? A view. Here's what they mean. A view is the result set of a query. When we run a query, okay, we get a view. We don't change the table, the underlying data. We just arrange the data and we get a snapshot of it. But the table doesn't get changed. We can't change a table unless we have permissions. We have the authority to do it, okay? Now, in the cases that we're doing, it's going to be like we're the super administrator. We can do anything and everything, okay? But most of the time, you'll be working with a database, and you'll be running queries of your database, and you may have, and you'll have probably, depending on your level of management, you'll have certain set of restrictions on what you can pull, what data you can get. Okay. Now, here we have these queries. And then we come down, and here's some other more regular types of queries. Sales, product. Now notice that I have all access objects. Click here. If I wanted to just filter and just get tables, queries, forms, or reports, I could do that. What I like to do is as I'm working, I like to see everything that's out there, because this is very typical. I'll just see a bunch of queries. Now I see there's a report. There's a report. So yeah, and this is this is sales. That is a data warehouse report. Okay, it pulls everything together. So not to split hairs, but I think you're starting to get the picture. Let's talk about what is in a table. And so I'm going to click on this thing called dimension dim channel. It means dimension channel, and I'm going to right click, and I'll get a menu. Okay, I'm in Excel, and I'm going to select the design view. Okay, now I'm going to take the shutter. I'll close it off. Pardon me. I'm going to navigate it over so I have plenty of room to see. The dimension, think of it like the formula bar in Excel. You remember, as we've been doing these Excel cases, we have results down in the cells themselves, like G25, and then up in the formula, we might see something like equals sum G23 plus G24. Okay, well, it's the same concept here, is that we have basically a place where we do input, and then we have a place where we do display. This table called dimension, dimension channel, they're looking at two variables or attributes that are important to them. One of them is the channel, and we have a channel ID, and then the channel itself. So, and each of these, the channel ID is what we would call typically a primary key. Okay, now it's not designated as such, but a primary key is something that allows us to make certain that every record is unique. So we have these channel IDs. You say, now what do you mean? Well, it's a sales organization. And if I want to, I can right click and go to the, and see what it says. The data sheet view, okay? Or you can come up here and click the view up there. So we can click the view. And here are the three channels, marketing channels for this organization. This is what we call a slowly changing dimension table. These variables or descriptors of the marketing channels aren't going to change. It's internet, mail, or phone. Maybe they add one or two. They'll add a new ID for the new channel and name the new channel. We use these, okay, as devices to build into a fact table, okay, or into a query. And it's called a slowly changing dimension, typically because these things are pretty stable. So here's the output. Now, if I want to edit it, could I? Sure, I can come in here and add new channel. Now we'll go back to the design view, and you're going to see it on the channel ID. It's short text. On the channel, it's short text, and we have this thing called the general properties. These are the type of data that I have. Format. Do we have any validation rules? Is it required? Do we allow a zero length, which is basically a null? No, we don't. We get the field size, input masks. We'll talk about those. And so this helps us make some decisions about the way we handle the data. For example, we've got a channel ID here, and the data type is short text. But if I look up here, okay, we're good, so they match. I could have chosen to say, well, channel 1, channel 2, channel 3, and then I'd be having to use a number if I wanted to treat them like a number, but they wouldn't. These are categorical data or names, so I'm going to be working. I'm going to be using those letters. Now I'm going to right-click this, and I'm going to close this. Now we'll open this back up. And let's look at this second table called the dimension dim customer. Let's open it up first of all. I'll close the shutter back. These are all of our customers. Okay. Now, this is a dimension table. These are our customers. Again, now this is a table that we're going to be adding to as we add customers. You say, why have we got all these different tables? This makes no sense. Here's why they call them a relational database, okay? And let me stop here for a moment, and I want to do a little bit of an experiment, basically at your expense. I'm going to do a little annotation here for a minute, and I'm going to try to do a nice little mouse drawing. Now I don't want to spotlight this. I want to draw okay, And I'm going to use my drawing tools. Trust me, some of these I could use some work with. Okay. And this may be an experiment that's going to go badly, badly, badly. I've got the feeling it is. Yeah. We'll just undo those. So what I want to do, I need to go back to the meeting for just a minute. So back to the meeting. And I want to do a new share for a moment. Now do the whiteboard. There, earth to me. I'm sorry, folks. Do a real quick whiteboard. Excuse me. Now I'm going to draw. I'm going to start with a square. Okay. I'm going to have two squares. And I want to put a line here. You're gonna let me do that. You can tell I could use some work on my drawing. I'm gonna draw a straight line. There we go. Now imagine that we have two tables, okay? And one of them has last name. Okay? And we decide to call that the primary key. In fact, let's make something more realistic. Customer ID. Now this customer ID is a unique number given to every one of our customers. No two customers have the same ID. And we have this in the table, and we'll call this, this is going to be table A. Okay. And then I'm going to copy this if I can. And I'm going to put in another text. And this would be table B. Now, I have customer ID, and that customer ID is a primary key. I'll use PK for that, primary key. That identifier, that customer ID, makes is unique to every customer. So every time we have a transaction of any kind with a given customer, we're going to be using that customer ID so we know who we're selling to, we're getting returns from, etc. In this case, it's a primary key because it's in this table, which we call the parent, and then we'd have and then we could take the customer ID okay, and we'll put it in this other table, and we're going to call it a foreign key. Table A is what we would call the parent. Table B is what we call the child. And what I'm able to do is I take table A, I have a customer ID for every customer, and every time I have a transaction with that customer, say, I list that customer ID. That lets me link these two tables. And that's why we call them relational databases. This will make a lot more sense as we get into this. And I apologize about the clumsiness of this because I'm trying to kind of figure out what I'm doing as I go along. And so this is the best thing you've done in this so far. Probably so. All right. So I'm going to go back. And we're going back to the screen share, the desktop, and we're back to our database. And I know this was a breathless exercise for you as it was for me. Now, notice these dimensions. We have a customer ID, customer name. Really, they should have a last name and first name, but yeah, they're lazy. We have the city, the state, and the zip. So we have all the cities they're in. Let's right-click on that, and let's look at the design view and see how it's designed. The customer ID is a number, okay? The customer name is short text, city, state, zip, and salesperson. Now, so far, this is a bit of a problem because the customer ID, okay, is a number. And what we should do with this is we should turn this into an auto number, okay? And so we're going to do that. Just we'll click down here in the drop, and it says you're about to change this, and it's okay. And they're warning us about that. So we're going to skip this, but we should have each customer, we should only show each customer has a unique number. We'll go back up there, and we're not going to save the table. And here we are. Okay. Now we'll close this table off. We've looked at tables. We have one for products. We can open that up. Product categories. We can go back to the design view. Notice that each product has its own unique ID. Then we have a dimension for salespersons. Each salesperson has their own unique ID. The type of sales that occurred, each type has a type ID. One's an order, one's a return. We have time dimension. This is when the sale occurred, the date, and then the quarter. Then we come to production categories. We'll look at that. Coffee, spices, or tea. Those are categories. Here's our channels we talked about. Here's our production table of customers. Okay. This production table is useful for us because if you look, what you'll see is we have the customer ID linked to a salesperson ID. Okay. Who is the salesperson or persons who took care of each of these unique customers? So we see salesperson number 1 dealt with Sam Smith, and salesperson number 1 dealt with Peter Petrie. Okay? So we'll pop this back here, and here's product order detail. Let's look at that for a moment in design view. Now this is very, very detailed. Okay, notice this order detail ID. It's a primary key. How do I know it? Well, I tell it that it is, and if I look up here in the toolbar, I see that. Then there's the order summary ID. It says this is a foreign key to the product order summary. Remember I talked about earlier about a parent and a child. I can link tables up. I can link table A and B I showed you before, okay? Because I had the primary key in table A, i.e. the parent, and then I put the customer ID in another table, and that's how I link them up. I match them. That's really all that there is to it. Now, that's why they call them relational databases. Here's a product order summary. And we can go back into the design view and see here in this case, in this product order summary, I have 3 foreign keys that I'm using from 3 different tables because I'm pulling data from those 3 tables. Here's the design view for the production products. Same story there. So let's click this and close all of these. And let's come down and look at a query. Here's one where we append orders. And what we're going to do, and right click it and then just click on design view. And what we're doing is we are adding orders, okay, into the product order, into the sales date table, customer ID table, channel ID, salesperson. So we're appending data. And we have a criterion below here for dates when we will do that, beginning and ending a certain date. So what we call a parameter query. So we're going to close this. And now we'll get more of what we would call like a traditional type of query. And we'll click on this customer crosstab, and let's look at that for a moment. And here, notice what we've done. We've gotten the product category, the product ID, the product, and the total of products, the total of product from that table, the dimension product table, and we've grouped them. And notice it's a cross tab because it shows me that it's a cross tabulation query. Now we're going to close that off. And don't get flustered or worried or anything. That we'll work with these enough. You'll get it. Okay. And here's one to create channels, customers, etc. Now here is a data warehouse sales query. And let's open that up and you'll see what I'm talking about. Here's the date of the sale. Here's the quarter. So we have the date and the quarter when it occurred, the type of sale, the channel in which the marketing channel, the customer's name, city, state, zip, who was the salesperson, who was the order person, did the salesperson, is that the person who took the order? What was the product? What was the product category? What was the unit price, and what was the unit cost, and how many did they order? This is called a data warehouse sales query or view because it says in each record, we literally have gotten data from all of these different tables. Okay. Now we'll close this off. And we'll come down to a report. There's one on sales. We'll open that up. And this gives a beginning date. So I'm going to put 7. I don't know what the beginning dates will be. So I'm going to put 7/1/16. I'll probably get a null set. And I'll put 7/30/16. I'd have to know the exact dates to get something for you. Well, I don't have anything there. So I'm going to go into the sales, 6/7/11. And let's get everything from 6/7/11 to 6/15. Okay. So I'm going to generate myself a report from sales. And I'll put 6 7-11, and I put 6-15-11. So I'll get everything, should get everything for those dates. And the sales type, I want, here's another parameter, I want orders only. And this will give me all, and the customer name, that's optional. Product category is optional. So this has a series of queries that we want to run through to take a look at. Now here's a product analysis, and we'll look at it again. These reports, and we'll look at the design view of them and see what we're looking at. And we're using what we call parameter queries to make sure that we're not fishing, but we have a particular set of information. Now, click on the Database Tools tab at the very top, and we're going to see something here. It's going to, probably set your teeth on edge, but we'll live through it. Click on Relationships, okay? And we should show all relationships. So we should show the tables. These tables should all be related. Well, they're not, because they're not related because we didn't tie them up. We're just running a data warehouse. So let's click. Yeah, that's why we didn't have that. So we're going to run a query. So I'm going to click Create. Query Design. I'm going to get Dimension Customer. I'm going to add that. Oh, I'll get rid of that. I want the Dimension Customer. Okay. And I want product, the dimension time, and I'm going to run that query. So I want to get the product ID, product category in the product, and the customer ID, and the sales date. And there we are. Now, I could qualify that and filter that report, go into the design view. And let's say, for example, in terms of products, I'm only interested in cinnamon. And there's all the cinnamon I sold. So again, we're not going to keep that. You can see how we use the database to collect data, to store it, and to look through it and get answers to questions. Now, I'm going to give you another example because I haven't done a very good job here, and I want to show you. So let me grab a pen for a minute, and I'm going to write down some things I want for a query. And I want to get the, let's look at the fact sales table. And I want to get everything from customer 1, all the sales to customer 1. By channel, and I want everything to customer 1 sold off of channel ID I. Okay. So I'm going to close this off. I'm going to click Create, Query Design. I'm going to get the customer, add that customer table. And then I'm going to click, in fact, I don't even need to do that. I'll just close that for a minute because I have the fact sales table, so I'll remove that. And I'll just choose the fact sales table. And I'm going to get fact sales. I want the field, customer ID, and I want the channel ID, and I want to add another table, so I'm going to show a table. Oh, I want the sales date, and for the customer ID, the criterion will be 1, and the channel ID will be, let's see what we had in the internet, and the sales, and we'll just leave the sales date with no criterion. Let's see what we get. We may have a mismatch there. That customer ID may just need to be a 1. There we are. I treated the 1 as a number, and I treated it like a letter. And so we have, when we use the internet to sell something, when in June did we sell? When did customer number 1 buy something from us using the internet? Okay, so we've run a basic query. And this is just a simple data warehouse tool. Okay, a lot here to digest if you haven't worked with them before. I like Access for a very simple reason. It's got good training wheels for those of us who haven't worked with databases much before. Number 2, it lets me go in and do anything and everything a database administrator would want to do or could do. And it also gives me, a very similar view to what I would have in Excel, Word. Notice the toolbar, how similar they all look. Okay? And that pretty much would end the supplemental lecture, and I'm not going to save that. And I'll just close that query off. And we've pretty much run the gamut for the start of talking about relational databases. And again, I'm sorry about my botched or nasty looking attempt to show you about primary keys and foreign keys. And because we handle them properly here, the one thing about these foreign keys, that I tend to use a thing called an auto number. It generates a new number every time so that there's no mistaking about which customer or what product or whatever belongs, okay? And that will give us time here. And I will stop the recording. I hope you folks have a good one. And then I'll end the meeting.